The context review for my thesis project, Tentacular, Speculative Fiction and the Agency of Media in Augmented Reality, is necessarily sprawling and extensive with a network of connected ideas and branching influences. This exploration will include selections of fictional narratives in various forms of media, as well as philosophical and academic sources. To begin, Fritz Lang's Metropolis is one of the earliest and most influential science fiction films, depicting workers as literal cogs in the machine of the city. The German silent film was inspired by other pioneers of the genre, such as Mary Shelley and her novel Frankenstein or the Modern Prometheus, which speculated on the emerging scientific concept of galvanism as a framework to question the nature of life and what it means to be human. H.G. Wells was cited as another major influence for Lang, however the film did not resonate with the so-called father of science fiction, who described Metropolis as silly, trite, and ludicrously simplistic. Wells did, however, have warmer reception for the infamous radio play adaptation of his novel War of the Worlds by Orson Welles, which notoriously convinced many unwitting listeners that an alien invasion was actually occurring. The phenomena of that event in particular, taking place at a specific point in time and influencing the perception of reality for such a large population, is a strong example of what Walter Benjamin would describe as aura, or the unique and authentic presence of a work of art in a specific space and time. Canadian media scholar Harold Innes analyzes this powerful influence of communication media on society in The Bias of Communication. Another arguably culture-shifting speculative work is Stanley Kubrick's 2001 A Space Odyssey, made in collaboration with another sci-fi giant, Arthur C. Clarke, who authored the novel on which the film was based and co-wrote the screenplay with Kubrick. The depiction of the ship's artificial intelligence system, known as HAL, has since influenced countless representations of AI characters. Somewhat adjacent to the world of science fiction, but still within the broader realm of speculative fiction, is cosmic horror, most notably represented by the work of H.P. Lovecraft, whose work delves into the unknowable and the incomprehensible, what Immanuel Kant would describe as the grotesque and the sublime. Moving toward the end of the 20th century, many speculative works tend to fit somewhere between cosmic horror and sci-fi, with the likes of John Carpenter's The Thing and They Live, and most of the work from Canadian auteur David Cronenberg at that time. In particular, Videodrome and Existence consider the influence that media such as television and games have on the human experience, very much in line with the media theory presented by Marshall McLuhan. Though less fantastical in its execution, the 1976 film Network portrays the audience demand for increasing levels of depravity, similar to Videodrome. Kurt Vonnegut's short story Harrison Bergeron, which was adapted into a 1995 film, frames television broadcasting as the would-be savior that may bring culture to a society that is dumbed down by technology in the name of egalitarianism. Conversely, it is the egalitarianism of technology that is explored in Ridley Scott's Blade Runner, which questions what exactly makes human consciousness so distinct from the artificial intelligence of androids known as replicants. The film was inspired by Philip K. Dick's novel Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, both of which are pillars of the cyberpunk aesthetic and subgenre. Johnny Mnemonic would also fit into this category, envisioning the cybernetic future of 2021, where consciousness can be projected into the internet and data can be stored in the mind. At the turn of the millennium, society was collectively expecting either the technological apocalypse of Y2K or the impending digital utopia promised by speculative works of the past. If there's one film franchise that encapsulates both of these themes, it's The Matrix from the Wachowskis. The film's philosophy was heavily influenced by John Baudrillard's simulacra and simulation. However, this was another scholar who felt his ideas were misunderstood and misrepresented. Film theorist and philosopher Slavoj Žižek goes as far as to demand a third pill, which reveals not the reality behind the illusion, but the reality in the illusion itself. Christopher Nolan is another blockbuster filmmaker who uses cinema as an opportunity for consideration of existential themes such as memory, consciousness, quantum space, and the perception of time. Much of Charlie Kaufman's work deals with similar ideas, however, with a decidedly more absurdist approach. Kaufman recently released his first novel, Antkind, which I just finished reading, and it could be said that there were a few parts that resonated with me. The premise is that a film critic views a previously unseen 3-month-long stop-motion film, which is then destroyed. Estimating that it is possibly the greatest film to have ever been made, he desperately tries to recall the movie in full in order to communicate it to the world. From there, the story gets very surreal, with the most relevant theme being that the experience and memory of an artistic work is its true realization, as opposed to the thing in itself as it actually exists. There's also a side story involving a new type of experiential media from the future called Brainio, which merges with the consciousness of the viewer to allow them to experience a first-person narrative from inside the head of the protagonist. The next daunting read, which I have just begun, is Infinite Jest by David Foster Wallace. which includes a similar futuristic technology called the Tentacular, an immersive headset that plays cartridges containing what are essentially films, one of which is so entertaining that its viewers lose interest in everything but endlessly watching it on repeat. Technologies such as Brainio and the Tentacular would likely be described by Kemper and Zielinska as the next logical advancement of media technology, as it is described in their book Life After New Media, which positions technological tools as extensions of our experiential being which become non-distinct from the user. Karen Barad's article Transmaterialities gets into the idea that non-sentient matter may be imbued with its own agential capacity to reach out, influence, and affect change on the world. Jane Bennett's Vibrant Matter describes this as a spectrum of the agency of things in the world, or the vitality of matter, similar to what Brian Masumi would call the autonomy of effect. Prominent speculative fiction author and self-proclaimed magician Alan Moore, best known for Watchmen and V for Vendetta, portrays this kind of agential capacity of storytelling in its graphic novel Promethea, which uses a fictional narrative to present his actual ideas on mysticism, spirituality, the occult, and the literal magic of creative fiction. In their book Speculative Everything, Dune and Raby propose an imaginative approach that challenges what is possible and suggests value in open speculation through creation. They offer that fictional scenarios, which sit within a range of plausibility, may offer a reference point of consideration that may optimize the probability of reaching a desirable future. Sometimes this leads to results that are undeniably weird, such as the world of speculative fiction transmedia artist and writer C.M. Kosman's All Tomorrows and All Yesterdays, which narrativize and project millions of years of evolution. I was introduced to Kosman's work by a video from YouTuber AltShiftX. He and other video essayists such as Nerdwriter and ContraPoints helped to bring traditionally academic discourse into a more accessible format. Similar to Kosman, Area X by Jeff Vandermeer also deals with speculative biology. The first of 3 parts was loosely adapted for the Alex Garland film Annihilation, which keeps the book's premise of a group of female scientists investigating a surreal biological anomaly, a theme similar to Dawn Haraway's Tentacular thinking, in which humans are urged to make kin with the non-human and the not-quite-human. Canadian pop star Grimes suggests that this idea of making kin also be extended to AI as one of the messages of her recent concept album, Misanthropocene. Bo Burnham also uses music along with comedy to speculate on the effect of technology on the human experience throughout his Netflix special Inside. The game The Stanley Parable utilizes a meta-narrative to explore similar themes of existential dread and the mundanity of reality. Sword of Damocles was the first augmented reality experience created in 1968. Ex Machina explores the humanization of artificial intelligence. Portrays quantum reality. Dev speculates on consciousness living on through interchangeable and altered. Blade Runner 2049 Westworld proposes that AI beings are entitled to rights. Obviously, there is a wealth of relevant speculative fiction, and despite my best efforts, I cannot include everything. I'd be remiss, however, not to mention Charlie Brooker's anthology series Black Mirror, which takes an allegorical approach to many of its stories about the effect of technology on the human experience. This inextricable relationship between people, technology, and the world is described in Benjamin Bratton's model of the stack. Actor network theory is a different model which seeks to describe, but not necessarily explain, these relationships within networks. Galloway's protocol suggests it is not freedom but control that affords these connections. Black Mirror invites the audience to take a critical look at their own place in that dynamic. The goal of reviewing so many speculative fiction narratives is not to unpack each specific story element, but to better understand the ways in which their ideas are effectively communicated in each respective medium and apply that to augmented reality. The storytelling affordances of AR are yet to be fully realized, and it's exciting to see how narratives in this new form of media will manifest. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for the post-credits maniacal laugh.
Ha 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 ha!